We're just a little over 24 hours away from the official NBA trade deadline coming to a close, and we got a number of deals that happened on today that we're going to talk about. Plus, the Golden State Warriors are zeroing in on Kevin Durant as their trade target. Talk about all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Derek Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into it for today, y'all. And we got trades going down today. A couple of trades that happened early today that came down the wire. The Milwaukee Bucks are trading Khris Middleton to the Washington Wizards for Kyle Kuzma. And this is a deal where the Bucks are sending Khris Middleton, AJ Johnson, and a pick swap to the Washington Wizards for Kyle Kuzma and Patrick Baldwin Jr. and a second-round draft pick compensation. So, I mean, this is a trade where basically the main two pieces are what we talked about yesterday, and Khris Middleton and Kyle Kuzma. This is them getting younger. Kyle Kuzma is a younger player. I would say that he's more productive at this point as well. And this is also, make no mistake about it, it's in large part about the money as well. Because with this trade, what they do is they get below the second tax apron, which now frees them up to get a little bit more creative. We know that the Milwaukee Bucks were in pursuit, trying to get in on the Jimmy Butler, trying to get in on Zach LaVine. This is a move that would have definitely helped make that trade easier had they done it. Reportedly, it was initially reported that they were going to look to move Pat Connaughton to try to facilitate them getting under the second tax apron and some other things happening. But now, with everything said, and looks like they get under the second tax apron, they also get younger in a case like this as well. This is just a smart deal for the Milwaukee Bucks. And I personally do view Kyle Kuzma, like I said, as a more productive player. He's also considerably cheaper. Even next year, had Khris Middleton picked up his player option next year, which I do think it's pretty certainly that he's going to, it still would have been more expensive than what Kyle Kuzma contract is. So this is a move that makes sense for the Milwaukee Bucks. I also think it does strengthen their chances in the Eastern Conference as well. They're 26-22 right now on the season, but I like this move for the team. I'm not saying that it's a move that's going to all of a sudden make them a favorite in the East or anything like that, but if this is just a precursor move, right, to set up something later that they want to do down the road, it works in that area as well. This is just a smart move for the Bucks. And shout out to the Bucks for being a smart team as far as being aggressive at trying to find ways to improve this team and never really staying in the fact of when they were disappointment at the start of the season. So things are starting to look up for the Milwaukee Bucks. I like this move for them overall. You had a 29-year-old a player that adds some more versatility to your team as well. It's just a smart move for the Bucks. And I think that Kyle Kuzma has been on that Washington Wizards team, and I do think that it's been some signs of him being disengaged because of the state of that team and things like that. You're now going to a team that has aspirations to try to fight and do everything they can to try to come out that East. Now, I'm not picking them over the Boston Celtics or Cleveland Cavaliers by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think they are in a place to where, depending on how the matchups shake up, depending on how things go, like ECF is not out of the realm of possibility for the Milwaukee Bucks. They would have to have some favorable seeding, right? But I do think that there's a chance that they can do that. I'm not picking them over either the Cavs or the Cavs or the Boston Celtics to come out the East, though. But this is a team that's made a move to improve. They're a damn good team. They're a very solid team. And we'll see where the competition lies for them. But let me know what you guys think on this deal for the Milwaukee Bucks. Is this a deal that you think drastically changes how you view them? Do you think it is a setup for another move? Or what do you think? Kyle Kuzma in this trade as well also reduced his trade kicker to help the Bucks with more flexibility as far as staying under that second tax apron. It's just a smart deal all the way around for this team. But we then got another deal that was built around more finances than anything. The New Orleans Pelicans have traded Daniel Tice and draft compensation to the OKC Thunder. The Thunder at this point, Tice is a $2.1 million expiring contract. This move now takes the New Orleans Pelicans right below the luxury tax. They were $1.4 million above the luxury tax prior to this trade. Now they're below it. And that was the thing. The New Orleans Pelicans did not want to pay the luxury tax for a team that's been this disappointing, and that's just being fiscally responsible when it comes down to it. So this is not like a major trade that I think sets anything else up for either one of these teams, but it is a trade that I think makes sense for the Pelicans. Still surprising they haven't made any other bigger moves. I do think that they are a team that could have moved off from CJ McCollum and other players, but we'll see if that happens closer as we get to the trade deadline. But as of right now, they basically guaranteed themselves, if nothing else, to get below that luxury tax, which was a goal by the team. Also, the Boston Celtics have traded Jaden Springer in their 2030 second-round pick to the Houston Rockets. Again, this is another trade that's kind of just, it is what it is when it comes down to it, right? They're exchanging heavily protected second-round picks. Heavily protected second-round picks basically means neither's going to convey, but they had to exchange something for the trade to be able to go down. It's not a major move by any stretch of the imagination. It's a move, right? It's a move to clear up some things. Could be a precursor move. I doubt it personally, but we'll see what happens when it comes down to that overall. But I like this when it comes down to it. It's solid. Nothing amazing, but it is a solid piece of work here. And we'll see what continues for this team. But we are, as I said at the opening of the show, 24 hours away, basically, from the NBA trade deadline. And everybody's kind of wondering what's going to happen, right? What's this team going to look like going forward? And, we'll see what happens for these teams or anything like that. But I do think this, overall, the teams are getting active. There are a lot of teams looking to be active, and one of those teams are the Golden State Warriors, reportedly. Talked a little bit about them yesterday, that they are, looking for a star trade if they can make one, and they're kind of circling around a return and a reunion with Kevin Durant, which is kind of strange there. The Mavs, who had talked about some reported interest at one point, the Rockets as well. Both those teams seem like they're out now. And this is just the Phoenix Suns trying to rebound. They weren't able to get Bradley Beal to waive his no-trade clause. They do want to make some type of move. And moving Kevin Durant, and if that ends up being as part of a Jimmy Butler trade or anything else, we shall see. But it is the Bucks maybe trying to get some smaller contracts back so that they can complete another trade, maybe something else. Like, it's weird. Like, the fact that the Warriors, and this was reported that they have had extensive conversations in regards to reacquiring Kevin Durant, is crazy when it comes down to it. Like, if that were to happen, this has already been a crazy trade deadline between De'Aaron Fox, Luka Doncic being moved, right? Everything that's just been happening there, the Jimmy Butler saga of not being able to find a team or whatnot. If the Warriors are able to make a move at this deadline to make a ploy for Kevin Durant, that would just be crazy to see. This one, the extensive conversations have reached a new level. This has gone from an idea to a realistic scenario to something we actively are preparing for. Golden State actually wants to make this happen again. All right. Here's the thing. If this were to happen, the question is how much does this realistically raise the ceiling? Kevin Durant is still a really, really damn good player. Make no mistake about it, right? He's still a player that if he's able to go to that Golden State Warriors team, their goal, their hope of being able to go on an actual playoff run, it becomes more and more of a possibility. I don't know if it all of a sudden changes them to look like a finals contender or anything like that, but it would be a major shift, I think, when it comes down to it as well. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see what happens here. But if the Golden State Warriors, a team that everybody's kind of been looking at or knowing in the back, wants to make a move to try to stay competitive while Steph Curry is able to play at this level, that's really interesting when it comes down to it. Now, Draymond Green has been, his name's been circling around some trade rumors when it comes down to it. He even said this: "We know what we signed up for. Every single one of us in that locker room knows what we signed up for playing this game and being part of the business. So I don't think anybody walks around. The reality is, if they're calling for LeBron James, everybody in that locker room except for Steph should shut up and know that you could be traded. So if they're calling superstars, that's not a thing anyone in that locker room could stay outside of number 30. So, I mean, listen, if this does happen, I don't know if it takes Dre being part of the trade. You would think that has to be a large part of it. But if it does, right? The Golden State Warriors are trying to do something here that I still think, like, that you don't want to mortgage too much of your future to make it happen. But if it happens, right? Like, that just is what it is. This is going to be, I said before, that this trade deadline can either be surprising or it could be so quiet that nothing basically happens. And what we're seeing is the latter. This is turning into one of the more interesting trade deadlines. Of course, the Luka Doncic trade alone turned it into that. But then when you look at De'Aaron Fox going to the Spurs and what that could not only mean for the rest of this season, but for the future, having that running mate with Wemby. The Kings, moving on from De'Aaron Fox, reuniting Chicago Bulls West there with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine being there, right, and having a very similar team as far as makeup to what that Bulls team was before, what's that going to look like? They were winning more games, right? And throughout all of this, there are still teams like the Brooklyn Nets, the Portland Trailblazers, the New Orleans Pelicans that we thought leading into this trade deadline would be some of the most active teams with all of the pieces that they had on the rosters that looked like it was going to move, especially the Brooklyn Nets. They haven't moved Cam Thomas yet. They've made some moves, of course, to get worse, but they still got players on that team, and Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas, that would make some sense to move on from that we haven't really heard much about. The Portland Trailblazers. Anthony Simons is a solid player. But the fact that we haven't heard any trade rumors, they're winning games, right? They've won they're like 9-1 in their last 10. What is going on here? Some of the teams that we expected to be the most active have been the most quiet leading into the trade deadline, which makes them a sleeping beast in reality to still turn this trade deadline on its head when it's all said and done. That could be fun to watch. That's fun for fans. Of course, that's fun and exciting for these teams that are all kind of hovering around different type players of what they need to gear up for a deep playoff run, and that could still happen. So listen, turn on your alerts, not only for Shams, but turn on your alerts for us, because if news drops, we drop. It's very simple, but this is shaping up to be a really, really fun trade deadline, and we'll see what the future holds. But you guys can let me know how you feel and think on everything down below. Make sure you're following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video, probably today. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.